Hey everyone, Stephen here with Tiffany from the Deep Dive Podcast.
Firstly, we want to say thank you for listening, watching, commenting, and diving into these conversations with us each week.
I see those comments coming in. Someone out there called me Uncle. That's all right. Uncle Steve is here to stay.
Well, honestly, one of the best parts of doing this podcast is getting to know what you care about. And now we want to know you even better.
Yeah, what keeps you coming back to Deep Dive? Is it the topics we cover, the guests we bring on, or...
Is it just us?
I think we know the answer. It's probably us.
We also want to know what you want more of. Should we go deeper into the bread and butter issues?
Or do you want us to unpack more of what is happening around the world?
And that's why we are running a deep dive audience survey. It will take only a few minutes and your feedback will help us shape future episodes.
So do take part. It's going to take you just a short while. And the bonus is 10 lucky participants will each receive a $50 Grab voucher. You can find the survey link right here.
Thanks again for being part of the Deep Dive community. Now on with the program.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive with Tiffany and myself, Stephen.
So, Stephen,
Yeah.
you have two kids.
That's right.
How would you say your kids would describe you as a dad in 3 words?
Oh, they'll just say I'm awesome, I'm so much fun, fantastic, the coolest dad. I mean, I could go on.
Yeah, and I would call them to verify all of this. But I'm sure you are. And but at the same time, at some point, when your kids were little, did you ever think to yourself, hey, maybe I would be the stay-home dad and let my wife go
Actually,
out to work?
I did have that conversation. My wife tried to persuade her,
Yeah.
but
No.
obviously I didn't win that
The
conversation.
CEO of the house said no.
Yeah, that's right. So in the end, we both ended up still working. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about this because we actually did an episode recently, right, where we spoke to people who chose not to have kids, right? The DINGs, the dual income, no kids, a group of
Correct.
people. And then we had a lot of people replying back to us saying that, hey, you know what? You
Where's
guys
the
never
man?
you guys never talked to the man.
Because it does take two to tango, right?
Yes.
To make babies and stuff
We
like
did
that.
though. We did try and get the men on board, but they said
Okay.
no, maybe not now. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about stay-at-home dads, stay-at-home mums. I mean, is there a role reversal, gender equality? Are they the same? Do we look at them differently? And for that conversation, just after Father's Day, we have two stay-at-home dads with us. We have Eugene Lim, a stay-at-home dad with a 4-year-old daughter.
Hello.
And Ryan Kong, a stay-at-home dad with 3 daughters who has since taken on a part-time job as well.
Hello, great to be here.
I want to start with, a bit of your background story.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you guys, get to become a stay-home dad? Maybe we'll start with Eugene.
I used to work as a fashion editor for a long time, and then I decided to leave and try my hand at real estate. So it's quite flexible working hours. So while being a real estate agent, I also did things like work as a producer for commercials. I am a freelance fashion stylist. So I do multitudes of things, but I have control of my own schedule per se. So I think what eventually happened was that when I started to leave my parental home, I have to start doing my own housework. I had to start making sure the house is taken care of.
Right.
And then I noticed that there are a lot of gaps when I go out to work. Like I think there was once I went out for work for the entire day, and then I came home at like super late at night. I think it was 1 a.m. And then I was just wondering like, oh my God, I don't have any more underwear. Like
The laundry wasn't
yeah,
done.
laundry wasn't done.
Surely you didn't take that time off work
Yep.
just because of the underwear episode,
Of course
right?
not. Yeah.
For you as
Yeah.
well, was there like a live, was there a live update?
Using trauma is too strong of a word, or maybe it's apt, but I had a golden retriever, and it was my first time caring for another life, right, that depended on me. And then when she was taken from me at 3.5 due to blood cancer, it made me review my priorities, which is why I decided to leave the editorial job, which I loved a lot, and then move towards something that allows me to control my time a little bit better. So that, because I suddenly had this realization that life was a bit short. I never had that feeling before. Like, to me, time was unlimited, right? So with that episode, then we tried for kids. We did IVF. We got successful. And then my wife felt like the house was empty without a dog. So we decided to get another golden retriever. So then suddenly I have like 2 lives that depended on me. And then I was still working like as a real estate agent, so and doing my freelance work from time to time. So I had control over the kind of jobs that I would take. But I think eventually life is messy, and then sometimes they have different requirements. So with that, then I started realizing that more of my attention went towards caring for them than I did doing like my other jobs. So I think that's how like my job roles sort of slowly transition.
Okay.
I still do all of them, but I think whatever pulls my focus at that point in time, I have to tend to that because I don't have a safety net.
Ryan, what about you? What's your story?
Yeah, for me, it's a different set of circumstances. So I worked for about 10 years in public service. Yeah, so a lot of my family decisions are based on our own faith and convictions. So what happened was at that point in 2021, I was putting my daughter to sleep. Then I received a very strong conviction, I think you can call it as that, which accompanied a mental picture of an impending car accident. Yeah, so I was trying to see, okay, what's this about? I shared this with my own father. Yeah, but I think what I gathered was that I was going to enter a season focusing on life and death. Okay, so there was kind of a sense of what was to come. I was married. My wife was already a stay-home mom with, at that point, 2 of my daughters, and we had a third one on the way.
Okay.
So what happened was I tendered my resignation, yeah, and 2 weeks after my last day of work, my dad met with the car accident. So that's what happened. Yeah, so thank God he survived. Yeah, although it was quite a bad crash. Yeah.
Okay.
So we sent him in for checks at hospital, and not related to the crash, but it revealed other health issues that needed to be addressed.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So the peak of it actually came 2 years later when some of the scans revealed that he had cancer.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, so my journey as a stay-home dad, or in this case, what I call myself a sandwich caregiver, caring for both
Right.
my 3 kids and my dad, kind of started during that period.
I understand that for quite a period of time, both you and your wife were not working as well.
Yes, that's right.
So
yeah.
how did you all support the family?
So I guess for us, firstly recognizing that, well, the season we're being called into, and this is how we review life. Life has different seasons to which there are different priorities. So I guess for us, it was more of, okay, focusing on what was the work for us in that season, which was, as we found out, caregiving. Yeah, and it is also quite heavy work as well if you want to look at it that way.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
how we get by, we live simple. We just make sure that, ultimately what we're focusing on are those priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what got me through is also this, like, many times we realized that actually what was most precious for us was actually not so much the tangible things that we provide for our family,
Right.
but the intangible things, right? The relationships, those precious moments that once lost, money can't buy back.
Yeah.
And it was in that season that we were learning to
Yeah.
really focus on those moments.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you guys are unusual to be stay-at-home dads? Do you think it's accepted in society today that... Do you think your wife could do the same thing you're doing as well or better than you?
I think it's possible for sure if that's what she wanted. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's what she felt drawn towards. But I also feel like, when you get married, I think one of the biggest things that I believe in is that you want to make them the best version of themselves, and I want to help them realize that. The best version of my wife is not to be a stay-at-home mom, right? The best version of her is to go out and build a career for herself. So me understanding that, and then maybe she doesn't enjoy the parenting part as much.
Okay.
Not that she doesn't do a good
So
job.
can we say that you found the best person for the job,
Yes.
regardless of
And
male
you,
or
and
female?
you were that best.
Yeah.
You
You
were
were
the
the-
better person
Yes.
I
in
see.
this
Yeah.
couple.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, in our case, both of us were doing
Yeah.
the job together. Yeah, we were on the same team, and I
But-
think recognizing that it's not about who can do it better or not.
Right.
But could one of you have done it with the other one going back to work?
I don't think so, to
No?
be
Okay.
honest. Yeah, because we had 3, and then at that point we had +2 actually, including the elderly. Yeah, because otherwise I would have to probably hire 3 different people to do what we were doing, including a helper, including childcare, including a nurse, things like that. Yeah, but recognizing that it's not so much about only seeing it as a job,
Yep.
but seeing that you're probably in the best place to be the one to do that.
Yep.
Even accompanying for medical appointments, you are the one who need to make decisions, right? Discussing what's to come. And who's going to be there at 4 a.m. in the morning? Your kids are having the high fever. Who's the one going to change the diaper? Yeah, so it's things like that. I think after a while you realize it's not so much, is it the husband or the wife, but we are a team.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I recognize is that for a lot of times, like for men who are working, they'll say that, oh no, I help around the house. But actually we are not the helper, right?
Yeah.
Because increasingly, I think you are beginning to see that actually we are very much having to play that role because precisely we are traditionally say the head of the house, right? Yeah, but now it's more of really living it out. Yeah, I think we've kind of moved on maybe to answer your question. I think socially it's a lot more acceptable. We recognize that, yes, women are more educated, there are more equal opportunities, and that men is no longer just about providing financially. And that's not enough. Even our kids, they have other psychosocial needs to be there in the formative years.
So when we talk about gender equality, you think we've arrived there. Now you could, man, woman, stay at home, doesn't matter, doesn't make a difference.
I think it starts with, women getting good opportunities in the workforces.
Yeah.
Right. So they are able to earn perhaps like what the previous generation, the men were able to earn. And I think that gives them a bit more flexibility in how they want to plan, perhaps like who does more of the stuff at home, who goes out and build their career. And I feel like, I wouldn't say that we are totally equal. I'm aware enough to know that it will never be totally equal, maybe. But like, I think we have reached more of an equilibrium that women can have a good career. And if they have that, I don't think that the guy should say, but it hurts my ego. Please stay at home.
But I have heard that before. Like I have spoken to guy friends who say, as much as I really want to support my wife to get the career that she wants and she deserves, there will be days where my ego and my identity feels like it's a bit of a hit. Like I get bruised. But I think it's also because they are also a product of the families they grew up in. So, it could be, where they see their fathers going out, bringing home the bacon. That is that sense of identity, that loss of identity, and then not finding enough men around them who are in a similar situation makes them feel a bit lonely. I mean, is that something that have you guys come across other stay-home dads, or even have you guys ever felt this, identity loss for even a second?
Yeah, I guess I could kind of reframe the way to look at it rather than focus on what I have had to give up. Think of it maybe me giving this up, how much more my loved ones has gained from my time, my energy, beyond just providing finances or being away most of the time at work. Yeah, I think someone once asked me, do I find it that this is such a big sacrifice? To which I answered, how do you define what a sacrifice is? To me, sacrifice is giving up what is nearest and dearest to you. In my case, I chose what is nearest and dearest to me. Hence, you don't see that as a sacrifice.
A lot of people will say, but there's so many other practical issues that one has to deal with. And while you may say it's your season, you feel you had a calling and things like that, people will say, but then I got to think about, the mortgage and all these other issues. And it definitely would help if one of us had a regular job, It would make life easier in that sense. Whereas you seem to have this rather, I guess you're very optimistic about it and you feel that you're
at peace,
bringing this intangible assets to the table, right? Whereas others say, I still have to worry about all the tangible issues, Yeah,
and I think a lot of our life decisions fundamentally is two parts to it now. Do you do it out of fear? Do you do it out of love? Yeah, two sides of the same coin. They're not mutually exclusive. I think a lot of parents, and they say it's fine because everyone's context is different. And I would also say that it's not as if you have savings or investments, therefore you make that decision. I'm saying that financial considerations are but only one part of the decision. And I personally feel it's overplayed because there's so much more needs, in our case, health needs, that needed to be met. Yeah, so if you only fixate on, how's my family going to survive? There's a mortgage. Of course, I have a mortgage to pay. Of course, I have meals to feed. But of course, we forego things like, don't go for the family holiday. Don't go for that 5-star restaurant, And I think if we are honest with ourselves, if you are able to live simple and recognizing that we live in community, extended family, everyone plays their role, like for a season or even beyond. I think even right now, right, because I'm working part-time, we can still make it work. Yeah. And in this case, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are also other needs that need to be focused on rather than have the narrative only focus on, can we afford to be stay-home dads? That's not the point.
Yeah.
Can we afford not to be, especially at a point in life when that's more important. I guess that's why we made that decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan went back to work part-time. I mean, would you, Eugene, consider ever going back to work full-time?
I think one of the like one of the reasons why I feel a bit drawn to the role of a stay-at-home dad, it's also, I think I had an editor, like she told me that when she gave birth to a child, I think she had no memory of her daughter from 0 to 2. Because she was so busy trying to build up the magazine during that time.
Right.
And I think that story stuck with me a lot, and it resonated because I want to be able to have memories with my child at that age. Of course, like I can still have the same on my weekend, but often if you go back and you do work, and then sometimes you're so preoccupied with the task.
Your head is elsewhere,
yeah,
right?
head's elsewhere. Like I feel it when I get a text from clients, I need to submit this deck at a
Yeah.
certain time. I went for a parent-teacher meeting, and the whole time I was just scrolling on my phone, like taking screenshots because I need references. And then I told the principal, like, I hear you, like, but I am sorry, like, I'm physically here, I'm hearing you, but I just can't look you in the eye because I need to look at the phone. But now that the daughter is a little bit older, like back to your question, I think maybe perhaps it could be time to start looking for a job. So we stay in a 3-room flat, right? And we thought of upgrading. And I know the realities is that it would be good if either I work more as a real estate agent or I go back and find a full-time job.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Either or. That
To
definitely helps.
increase income.
To increase
basically.
income. Increasing the income allows us to stay in a slightly bigger house.
I asked that question because I think for a lot of stay-home mums, one of the challenges that they face is when they want to come back to the workforce, they are afraid that time away from work will cause them to suffer. They will not be able to get back into the workforce at where they left, or
They lost their
maybe
spot.
yeah, exactly. Other people around them
Okay.
would be already ahead of them. But I feel that, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that, like, it's a bit different for dads. When bosses look at that, they might go, wow, you took time away to go and spend with your family. That shows responsibility. I mean, do you think that is my very archaic way of thinking?
I don't think it's particularly a gender issue, to be honest. I think because for me, how did I return to work? So I work for the Singapore Cancer Society. It's in the community health space. How I even got the job, it was actually an opportune moment because I was accompanying my dad for his cancer treatment. And that's when I got to know someone in the society who then recommended me. So it wasn't really a proactive step in that sense. But it's also when people recognize that, okay, I'm in a certain life stage where I need the flexibility. Yeah, so I could be a man, I could be a woman for that matter. But upfront, I was sharing that, okay, I need a flexible arrangement due to my caregiving commitments. And I think they were open to basically work something out.
Okay.
Yeah, so in that sense, I could be a woman in that regard. And as long as, maybe to back up a bit, rather than look at just whether bosses will be more, when they're hiring a male or female, I think you need to look at basically is the company culture open in I think we're entering a super aged society, right?
Yeah.
Whereby there could be moments where their staff would just have to prioritize certain care needs and maybe take a childcare leave or urgent leave to care for the parents.
Yeah.
I think it's along those lines, maybe.
The upside is that we have changed quite a bit over the years, especially because of COVID and things like that. We are a lot more open to such flexible working arrangements. I have to admit that I've benefited from that. I used to do the evening news, 10 p.m. at night, which means I'll come in the office 2-3 in the afternoon. I'll go home like 1 a.m.
And
So
your
I
kids were
never
very
saw the
young
kids.
then,
They
right?
were, because by the time I come home, they're sleeping. By the time I wake up, they've gone to school. Then the next day it repeats. So fortunately, in our job, it's quite flexible. So I did tell my boss. I did speak to him, and he's like, yeah, okay, So I got into a different shift. But I think part of what you're saying is that gender aside, sometimes we need to raise these issues and ask for it. I feel that as employees, we can ask. Maybe your boss will just shoot you down, but at least you tried, right?
Yeah.
Instead of waiting for it to be offered in that sense.
But Ryan, if let's say you are past your sandwich season, right? And you don't have to worry about your parents, and then your children. And would you still want to go back to the civil service? Do you think that is still an option for you?
I think everything is an option. I think what's more important is not so much the job in itself, but what you are doing it for, ultimately. And even right now, caregiving, that is also kind of my job as well, right? As is Eugene. So we do it well. We be present,
Hopefully.
We don't just be there physically, but not mentally,
How much of this do you think is just for this period, this season, as you call it? Because the children are young, they need you more. But once they're older, actually, you don't need to be around as much, right? So
Hopefully.
at that point in time, will you then say, okay, let me go find a job?
I think for me, definitely yes, because there are moments being a stay-at-home dad or like a guy that takes care of the household, like you feel that what is the career progression for this? Like whatever achievements like that I get is, I feel like I'm Sisyphus pushing a rock up a hill. Like every day is the same task, right?
I know what you get better at. I know what's your career progression.
Yeah.
You get better at finding good deals on the
Yes,
e-commerce
yes.
platforms, waiting for the vouchers to land, because you
yes.
basically manage your entire household based
Correct.
on, your whatever that's on your phone, right? You're running the household.
Yes, in that way. But like I also feel like that's not what I fully want out of life.
Okay.
But I think at this point in time, like my child needs me,
Okay.
and my dog needs me, and my wife needs me, and then so that's what I do. And then eventually, if I do see a shift, or I can see somewhere down the line that maybe I don't need to be as involved at home, then okay, then maybe I might do something else.
What was the hardest adjustment you had to do to be a stay-home dad?
I think not having anyone.
What's the biggest shock, maybe?
Biggest shock? I think how much effort it takes to clean the house.
Okay.
Like it's not something that I.
Shout out to the stay-home moms.
Yeah, really shout out to the stay-home moms. Like, and shout out to my mom who was she worked full time and she still took care of the house. Like maybe I should be a bit more like that. But I just the amount of work that it takes, and like it's the same thing every single day with slightly different stuff. Like you wake up, you try to get them to school and stuff like that, and then you reset the entire house so that it's livable again. Any gaps you see, you go out and plug it, and you just do that every single day. And I feel that sometimes there is I just wonder, like, when I'm 60, am I happy just being considered like that's what I did for my entire life now.
When people ask you, what do you do? And you say, I'm a dad, right? I'm a stay-home dad. What was the reaction that you would get from people?
I think usually for people, they'll always ask, oh, why? Or they'll try and understand better what made us come to that decision, which I would then share with them the story which I've shared with all of you. Yeah.
Then did anyone try to persuade you otherwise?
No, I think if anything, so I had this conversation actually with this man who's quite successful in his career, and he's probably reached that point where he's about to retire. I asked him, what is one advice you would give, to a younger parent in this situation? Yeah, and he's like CEO level, To which he replied me, you know what, Ryan, I really respect what you're doing now. I don't think I would have been able to do it. And he said that not to just make me feel better, but I think he genuinely meant it. Because when I subsequently found out that ultimately it's the moments that he lost. You mentioned it briefly earlier, right? Not being there when your kid takes the first step. Not being there when the kid has the birthday party. Yeah, and these are moments you just cannot, no matter what you do, you can't get it back.
You can't get it back,
Yeah, so I think that was encouraging to me. That yes, you have other people saying, oh no, men should be working and all that. But I am working.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Different
something
job,
that,
that's all.
maybe albeit not commensurated the same way that others are.
But the thing is, if you were a woman sharing that you are staying at home to look after the kids, people would be like, oh, okay, that's good. And they probably wouldn't challenge you in any way to say why you're doing it, right? So
Might not even be curious.
Not
They'll
even,
be like,
it'd be like almost
wow,
expected,
your kids
right?
are so lucky to have you at home.
But it's funny because just recently in the news, I think there was a football player and the World Cup season's on now, and he says, I may not play the match because my first kid is arriving anytime, and I want to be there for that. And some commentator criticized and said, come on, World Cup, it was a once in a lifetime thing. So there was this debate going on online, about how different people view it differently.
Yeah. This kind of like big life changes. I mean, if I were the wife, I wouldn't forgive him as well.
Yeah.
If he was not there for my
but
child.
then this
the birth of
other
my child. I
female
don't care about the World
commentator,
Cup.
no, she actually said, actually, the guys are useless. They don't do anything anyway.
As long as they don't faint in the delivery room. Present company excluded. Or Ryan is like, wait, hang on, what guy are you talking
I mean,
about?
you've been through 3 times, so I think you should be quite okay.
Yeah, I mean, because my kids were born during the COVID period.
Oh, yeah.
My number 2 was born during the circuit breaker. Yeah, if anything, my wife was wishing that I could be there.
Yeah.
That was a period of time where it was just quite scary, and just recognizing that ultimately I can empathize with the footballer, to be honest, and I'm sure it's a very difficult decision for him. Yeah, I'm sure that's also his dream.
Yeah. He
But
worked really
being
hard.
there for his child is also his dream.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's not to say that it's any less or any more.
Yep.
And I think we all make trade-offs. Yeah.
If a father was listening in right now and is secretly considering, maybe I want to take the step back, I want to, step into a season where I can be there for my child, but they're also a little bit afraid, about what people will think about them, about the financial struggles that may come. What would you guys individually say to somebody who's in that position?
Being honest with what you want out of life is very important. Like, I think, like, when he talked about meeting that CEO, like, to him, not that he didn't want to spend time with his children, but I think he felt that maybe him pursuing that career path was more important. But not to say that children are not important, but I think, like, he want to be okay with the life choices that he has made at the end of the day, right? And I think if a dad is thinking about it, I think he has to have an honest conversation with himself and with his family to see, like, if that's a path that is feasible. I think we are lucky that that path is feasible for us, right? And I don't regret doing it. But I think at the end of the day, when you are alone with yourself and you review all the decisions that you make, are you happy with it? And if you're happy with it, then I think you should pursue it. And if you have the ability to do it, then you should try.
Yeah, I think every couple would have their own considerations. So I recognize in my case, it's very unique. Yeah, but firstly, between husband and wife, you need to come to that decision. And it's not about... not only about who earns more.
Yeah.
And if I were to speak to a fellow stay-home dads, I think also trust your heart for that season. If you're feeling that, hey, work is taking too much out of me, I'm missing all these moments that my kids are, they're growing up so fast. Yeah, don't ignore that. Yeah, and then just now I talk about making decisions out of fear or love, right? Sometimes you can make decisions not only out of, what if I forego this, but think about, what if I do this and because I love my child, I love my wife, I won't regret that. Yeah.
To be fair, also for all those who are working father or mother out there, I mean, I think different people find different ways to balance, and it does work out for some people.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had to go through my season as well where I thought I would want to try and be a stay-home mom, but I realized I wasn't cut out for it. Yeah.
Some people are better.
Yeah, really.
at
I
work.
mean, it's true. I think I wasn't cut out for it, and I will say it, with all due respect to like people who can do this. Yeah.
So I was sharing with my supervisor my situation, and she said this, Ryan, if you need a break, come to work. It's really,
I actually saw work as a break because I wasn't getting a break at home. My days were, melting into the nights, and then nights turned into days as well.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been a very sobering conversation. Thank you guys for coming in, sharing your thoughts with us, and for those of you who are in this situation, maybe you're a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom, I mean, kudos to you. We encourage you and applaud you for what you're doing and wish you all the best. But otherwise, I think that's it for this week's deep dive. If you have any thoughts, do share it with us. We'll see you next week.
Bye.